Awesome.
It's great to have all of you guys here today on the last day of February 2022. And we are on chapter 17, forgiveness and the holy relationship. I'm going to jump right in. Let's share my screen. And start reading, and then we'll discuss after the first section. Chapter 17, forgiveness and the holy relationship, bringing fantasy to truth. The betrayal of the Son of God lies only in illusions, and all his sins are but his own imagining. His reality is forever sinless. He need not be forgiven, but awakened. In his dreams, he has betrayed himself, his brothers, and his God. Yet what is done in dreams has not been really done. It is impossible to convince the dreamer that this is so, for dreams are what they are because of their illusion of reality. Only in waking is the full release from them, for only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had no effect upon reality at all and did not change it. Fantasies change reality. That is their purpose. They cannot do so in reality, but they can do so in the mind that would have reality be different. It is then only your wish to change reality that is fearful, because by your wish, you think you have accomplished what you wish. This strange position, in a sense, acknowledges your power. Yet by distorting it and devoting it to evil, it also makes it unreal. You cannot be faithful to two masters who ask conflicting things of you. What you use in fantasy, you deny to truth. Yet what you give to truth to use for you is safe from fantasy. When you maintain that there must be an order of difficulty in miracles, all you mean is that there are some things you would withhold from truth. You believe truth cannot deal with them only because you would keep them from truth. Very simply, your lack of faith in the power that heals all pain arises from your wish to retain some aspects of reality for fantasy. If you but realized what this must do to your appreciation of the whole, what you reserve for yourself, you take away from him who would release you. Unless you give it back, it is inevitable that your perspective on reality be warped and uncorrected. As long as you would have it so long will the illusion of an order of difficulty in miracles remain with you. For you have established this order in reality by giving some of it to one teacher and some to another. And so you learn to deal with part of the truth in one way and in another way the other part. To fragment truth is to destroy it by rendering it meaningless. Orders of reality is a perspective without understanding, a frame of reference for reality to which it cannot really be compared at all. Think you that you can bring truth to fantasy and learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions? Truth has no meaning in illusion. The frame of reference for its meaning must be itself. When you try to bring truth to illusions, you are trying to make illusions real and keep them by justifying your belief in them. But to give illusions to truth is to enable truth to teach that illusions are unreal, and thus enable you to escape from them. Reserve not one idea aside from truth, or you establish orders of reality that must imprison you. There is no order in reality, because everything there is true. Be willing then to give all you have held outside the truth to him who knows the truth, and in whom all is brought to the truth. Salvation from separation would be complete, or will not be at all. Be not concerned with anything except your willingness to have this be accomplished. He will accomplish it, not you. But forget not this: when you become disturbed, and lose your peace of mind because another is attempting to solve his problems through fantasy. You are refusing to forgive yourself for just this same attempt. And you are holding both of you away from truth and from salvation. As you forgive him, you restore to truth what was denied by both of you, and you will see forgiveness where you have given it. Good to have Carol with us. Thanks for joining during that. We're on chapter 17, forgiveness and the holy relationship. Another one of these simple but not always easy chapters, right? You just have to have a little willingness.
Is now the whole of reality is fantasy because it's an illusion.
The whole of
Reality.
Right.
I mean, it's everything that we see is not real because it's an illusion.
Right.
So it's
Correct.
all fantasy.
Yes. Correct.
All right.
Yeah. I guess the way I always look at it is as if I'm in the matrix, as if my mind has jumped into this virtual reality and none of it is real. It's all being made up by a projection outside of the truth of who and what we are. And when I bring my mind back to that one mind that we all share in love and complete love, where there is no need for forgiveness because nothing ever happened, then I'm at that place of truth and reality. But in this world that we are living, this world of illusions, it's all fantasy. It's all part of the dream.
Except for love.
Except for love.
Yeah.
Right? Love is the only thing that's real.
I really like that line that says, when you try to bring truth to illusions, you are trying to make illusions real and keep them by justifying your belief in them. But to give illusions to truth is to enable truth to teach that illusions are unreal and thus enable you to escape from them. That quote that Tim referred us back to last week, I wrote that on my bathroom mirror and read it every time I go into the restroom for whatever reason. Because there's just so much power in it. There's just so much power in that reminder of this present moment. Is everything that's happening to me in this present moment a reflection of this present moment or every other past experience I've ever had? And that's, I think, what, that's that pause that we're trying to, is to not pull from an illusion experience, whether it's mine or whoever I'm interacting with, and just take this face value. And recognizing the detachment I have to have is how other people are acting or having their perceptions. And so my husband gave me this line a few years ago, and I just forget to use it often, is, so what I'm hearing you say is A, B, and C, or could I ask for clarifying information because I'm hearing A, B, and C, which is so much better than the freeze out shutdown mode that I usually go into because it's easier.
Or because you've already judged it, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Those are wonderful tools.
Yeah.
With all due respect to bathroom cleaning, or bathroom reading rather.
I'm like, are we talking about bathroom cleaning now?
And
Just the mirror. Just the mirror.
I mean, and because I have done the mushrooms and I have experienced some other, I guess, illusions or realities. I don't know. It's hard to say. I would say that even though this, and I understand the concept of it being not real, to me, it seems that there are multiple realities. Okay, this being one of them, and this being it's a pretty strong argument for what it is. When your mind is spinning in another realm, affected by the mushrooms, There seems to be another reality. And I will say that without the mushrooms, I have experienced, and I don't know if it was hallucinations or what, but other realities I can say, and I'll equate it to being really in bliss in one instant, and another instant when I had that high fever for about 3 days, where I was again experiencing, and that was probably one of my first experiences in hallucinating, because I think I was 16 or 17 with a serious cold. I don't know what the heck it was, some kind of flu, influenza. So that being said, I mean, and when the shamans go into their, I don't know what to describe it, into that other realm, they're also experiencing another reality. So I would say that there's multiple realities, and within those multiple realities, they're all illusions. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just, it kind of boggles my mind, the whole thing.
Yeah, I would say yes, Ernesto, multiple illusions, right? And only one reality, but multiple illusions based on a projection of us separating our mind from the one mind of God that is the truth of what we are in essence. And it's not to say that we have to hate the illusion or that we have to try to get out of enjoying and being happy with whatever our experience is. It's just understanding that we don't need to suffer. That happiness is a choice, and that happiness is also our only function.
According to the Course, it's our inheritance.
Right. And also when you start playing with the illusion, when you realize that when you do choose happiness as your function, your illusion changes and becomes a reflection of that happiness.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
What stood out for me in paragraph 6 is when you become disturbed and lose your peace of mind because another is attempting to solve his problems through fantasy, you are refusing to forgive yourself for just that same attempt. And it kind of goes with that statement by Einstein, about needing the how does it go with you can't correct a problem with the same thinking that caused the problem.
Right.
And I really appreciated what Rachel said, because we were just talking in an earlier group about communication, about how important it is to not project our feelings onto the other, but to ask for clarification when we have a reaction to an internal reaction to something someone is saying, to ask, is that what you really meant?
Yeah.
Can you clarify what you meant, and have a discussion about it, and both can benefit from that discussion.
Yeah, and getting back to that passage that you read too, Carol, when you jump into the illusion with the other and you feel that, you have somehow been hurt in some way by something that was said or done, and you begin judging, right? That's when we get into that problem of the illusions, right? You're just as guilty of the illusion as that other person is, because you took it personally, which goes back to your opinion of me is none of my business, because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the projection of their illusion.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can be in that calm place and say, okay, did I hear you say this, without coming off as being offended or without actually being hurt, because you can just ask a simple question. Is this what I'm hearing? Can you just explain to me that, this is what I'm hearing? And you don't have to take it personally, because it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, they talked at length about that earlier, and
That's great.
Yeah.
Good information. Any other conversations before we go to the next section? All right. The forgiven world. Can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you? In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And nothing will you value like unto this, nor hold so dear. Nothing that you remember that made your heart sing with joy has ever brought you even a little part of the happiness this sight will bring you. For you will see the Son of God. You will behold the beauty the Holy Spirit loves to look upon, and which he thanks the Father for. He was created to see this for you until you learned to see it for yourself. And all his teaching leads to seeing it and giving thanks with him. This loveliness is not a fantasy. It is the real world, bright and clean and new, with everything sparkling under the open sun. Nothing is hidden here, for everything has been forgiven, and there are no fantasies to hide the truth. The bridge between that world and this is so little and so easy to cross that you could not believe it is the meeting place of worlds so different. Yet this little bridge is the strongest thing that touches on this world at all. This little step, so small, it has escaped your notice, is a stride through time into eternity, beyond all ugliness, into beauty that will enchant you and will never cease to cause you wonderment at its perfection. This step, the smallest ever taken, is still the greatest accomplishment of all in God's plan of at-one-ment. All else is learned, but this is given, complete and wholly perfect. No one but him who planned salvation could complete it thus. The real world, in its loveliness, you learn to reach. Fantasies are all undone, and no one and nothing remain still bound by them. And by your own forgiveness, you are free to see. Yet what you see is only what you made, with the blessing of your forgiveness on it. And with this final blessing of God's Son upon himself, the real perception, born of the new perspective he has learned, has served its purpose. The stars will disappear in light, and the sun that opened up the world to beauty will vanish. Perception will be meaningless when it has been perfected. For everything that has been used for learning will have no function. Nothing will ever change. No shifts, nor shadings, nor differences, no variations that made perception possible will still occur. The perception of the real world will be so short that you will barely have time to thank God for it. For God will take the last step swiftly when you have reached the real world and have been made ready for him. The real world is attained simply by the complete forgiveness of the old, the world you see without forgiveness. The great transformer of perception will undertake with you the careful searching of the mind that made this world and uncover to you the seeming reasons for your making. In the light of the real reason that he brings, as you follow him, he will show you that there is no reason here at all. Each spot his reason touches grows alive with beauty, and what seemed ugly in the darkness of your lack of reason is suddenly released to loveliness. Not even what the Son of God made in insanity could be without a hidden spark of beauty that gentleness could release. All this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes. For forgiveness literally transforms vision and lets you see the real world reaching quietly and gently across chaos, removing all illusion that had twisted your perception and fixed it on the past. The smallest leaf becomes a thing of wonder, and a blade of grass a sign of God's perfection. From the forgiven world, the Son of God is lifted easily into his home, and there he knows that he has always rested there in peace. Even salvation will become a dream and vanish from his mind. For salvation is the end of dreams, and with the closing of the dream will have no meaning. Who, awake in heaven, could dream that there could ever be need for salvation? How much do you want salvation? It will give you the real world, trembling with readiness to be given you. The eagerness of the Holy Spirit to give you this is so intense, he would not wait, although he waits in patience. Meet his patience with your impatience at delay in meeting him. Go out in gladness to meet with your Redeemer, and walk with him in trust out of this world and into the real world of beauty and forgiveness. Well, that sounds lovely. I want to go for that walk.
Amen. You know, sometimes I'll sit here listening and try to get out of my own way, and it just breaks through, and I'm reminded of Walt Whitman's poem. You know, I sing the body electric. I literally I just feel this vibration go throughout my entire body, and it's and the body it begins to fall away. Oh God, it's so difficult to talk about. It's so difficult. I was blessed, as I've shared with many of you, oh my God, 50 years ago, to have been in a state of just complete grace constantly for 3 days and nights. And the memory, it's not a memory. I have to try to explain that that is a real connection that is there. All I have to do is just let go, just say, I don't know anything. I have no conception of what reality is at all. That's where we all have to come to. That's what he's saying here. We have to just say, you know, I am so tired of worrying about wars and starvation and disease and all this stuff that has no bearing on who we really are. It's not what we are. We're not these bodies that grow old and, you know, lose our hearing, sight, whatever. It's none of that. It's the direct connection with that which created us. That connection is always there. It's constantly there. It's like electricity that's in the wall. We just have to plug in. And then it's way beyond any electric current that, I mean, all analogies are so feeble to what it's like you're a little baby in the arms of the most loving being that you can't imagine it. All this entire book is trying to get it across in 100,000 ways. And I assure you that this is real. And I'm not preaching. Okay, I'm not. You are my brothers and sisters. I'm just saying we've delayed. I have delayed. I've done all the little busy work and trying to tidy and you know, all that, the stuff that has run my life. And for what? What? I mean, what if I lived in a jail cell and I had no, well, I guess I could still tidy the cell, but anyway, I need to stop talking. It's degenerating now. But we need to catch fire. We need to, there's a TV show called Halt and Catch Fire for you old computer junkies, but I think that's a valid what would be the name, an acronym for the state I'm talking about. Halt the ego, and you will catch fire, and then that burning will be there as long as you still desire that over everything else. Just, I have to remember that. I have to stop delaying. I have to stop putting a value to what is valueless, and there is nothing of any value here. Nothing. We think there is. We want it to be. We don't want to live a meaningless life. We don't want to have all these possessions. Why did I buy all this stuff? That all has to go. Sorry. It all has to go from our sense of wanting something other than the peace of God.
Yeah, I think you said it when you said let go, and that's it. And I think we get so busy, right? We busy ourselves with our life that we don't take the time to take the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just want to add, or one more thing is something you said, kind of, it's like we don't want to acknowledge that we have a meaningless life, and therefore it makes it hard to let go. So nobody's asking you to believe that you have a meaningless life. And in fact, when you participate in that life through a change in your perception, through your right-minded being, then you can see clearly what you are participating in. And it just changes the way you relate to your life. It doesn't mean that you had to give up one for the other. You are a spirit then choosing to have this human experience. It just puts it in the correct order, shall we say, in the true vision of it. When you think of it as, oh, I have to look at my life as meaningless, and it has such meaning to me, and I'm going to be in lack because I'm giving that up. Oh my God. Then it's really hard to do, because you're trying to solve that problem, like Carol said, from the mind of duality, from the level of that problem. Raise your consciousness, and then you can see it differently. The world looks very different when you're standing on the mountaintop than when you're climbing the mountain and all you can see in front of you is the mountain and all the depths below you. That's really scary. So don't go there.
Don't do that.
Well said. Yes.
Absolutely. Any other discussions before we continue? No? Okay, let's keep going. Great shares. All right, shadows of the past. To forgive is merely to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. All the rest must be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection. For the shadow figures you would make immortal are enemies of reality. Be willing to forgive the Son of God for what he did not do. The shadow figures are the witnesses you bring with you to demonstrate he did what he did not. Because you bring them, you will hear them. and you who keep them by your own selection do not understand how they came into your mind and what their purpose is. They represent the evil that you think was done to you. You bring them with you only that you may return evil for evil, hoping that their witness will enable you to think guiltily of another and not harm yourself. They speak so clearly for the separation that no one not obsessed with keeping separation could hear them. They offer you the reasons why you should enter into unholy alliances to support the ego's goals and make your relationships the witness to its power. It is these shadow figures that would make the ego holy in your sight and teach you what you do to keep it safe is really love. The shadow figures always speak for vengeance, and all relationships into which they enter are totally insane. Without exception, these relationships have as their purpose the exclusion of the truth about the other and of yourself. This is why you see in both what is not there and make of both the slaves of vengeance, and why whatever reminds you of your past grievances attracts you and seems to go by the name of love, no matter how distorted the associations by which you arrive at the connection may be. And finally, why all such relationships become attempts at union through the body, for only bodies can be seen as means for vengeance. That bodies are central to all unholy relationships is evident. Your own experience has taught you this, but what you may not realize are all the reasons that go to make the relationship unholy. For unholiness seeks to reinforce itself as holiness does, by gathering to itself what it perceives as like itself. In the unholy relationship, it is not the body of the other with which union is attempted, but the bodies of those who are not there. For even the body of another, already a severely limited perception of him, is not the central focus as it is, or in entirety. What can be used for fantasies of vengeance, and what can be most readily associated with those on whom vengeance is really sought, is centered on and separated off as being the only parts of value. Every step taken in the making, the maintaining, and the breaking off of the own unholy relationship is a move toward further fragmentation and unreality. The shadow figures enter more and more, and the one in whom they seem to be decreases in importance. Time is indeed unkind to the unholy relationship, for time is cruel in the ego's hands, and it is kind when used for gentleness. The attraction of the unholy relationship begins to fade and to be questioned almost at once. Once it is formed, doubt must enter in because its purpose is impossible. The ideal of the unholy relationship thus becomes one in which the reality of the other does not enter at all to spoil the dream. And the less the other reality brings to the relationship, the better it becomes. Thus, the attempt at union becomes a way of excluding even the one with whom the union was sought, for it was formed to get him out of it and join with fantasies in uninterrupted bliss. How can the Holy Spirit bring his interpretation of the body as a means of communication into relationships whose only purpose is separation from reality? What forgiveness enables him to do so? If all but loving thoughts have been forgotten, what remains is eternal. And the transformed past is made like the present. No longer does the past conflict with now. This continuity extends the present by increasing its reality and its value in your perception of it. In these loving thoughts is the spark of beauty hidden in the ugliness of the unholy relationship where hatred is remembered. Yet there to come alive as the relationship is given to him who gives it life and beauty. That is why at one minute centers on the past, which is the source of separation and where it must be undone. For separation must be corrected where it was made. The ego seeks to resolve its problems, not at their source, but where they were not made. And thus it seeks to guarantee there will be no solution. The Holy Spirit wants only to make his resolutions complete and perfect. And so he seeks and finds the source of problems where it is, and there undoes it. And with each step in his undoing is the separation more and more undone, and union brought closer. He is not at all confused by any reasons for separation. All he perceives in separation is that it must be undone. Let him uncover the hidden spark of beauty in your relationships and show it to you. Its loveliness will so attract you that you will be unwilling ever to lose the sight of it again. And you will let this spark transform the relationship so you can see it more and more. For you will want it more and more and become increasingly unwilling to let it be hidden from you. And you will learn to seek for and establish the conditions in which this beauty can be seen. All this you will do gladly, if you but let him hold the spark before you, to light your way and make it clear to you. God's Son is one. Whom God has joined as one, the ego cannot put asunder. The spark of holiness must be safe, however hidden it may be, in every relationship. For the creator of the one relationship has left no part of it without himself. This is the only part of the relationship the Holy Spirit sees, because he knows that only this is true. You have made the relationship unreal, and therefore unholy, by seeing it where it is not, and as it is not. Give the past to him who can change your mind about it for you. But first, be sure you fully realize what you have made the past to represent and why. The past becomes the justification for entering into a continuing unholy alliance with the ego against the present. For the present is forgiveness. Therefore, the relationships the unholy alliance dictates are not perceived nor felt as now. Yet the frame of reference to which the present is referred for meaning is an illusion of the past, in which those elements that fit the purpose of the unholy alliance are retained, and all the rest let go. And what is thus let go is all the truth the past could ever offer to the present as witnesses for its reality. What is kept but witnesses to the reality of dreams? It is still up to you to choose to join with truth or with illusion. But remember that to choose one is to let the other go, which when you choose, you will endow with beauty and reality, because the choice depends on which you value more, the spark of beauty or the veil of ugliness, the real world or the world of guilt and fear, truth or illusion, freedom or slavery. It is all the same. For you can never choose except between God and the ego. Thought systems are but true or false, and all their attributes come simply from what they are. Only the thoughts of God are true, and all that follows from them comes from what they are, and is as true as is the holy source from which they came. My holy brother, I would enter into all your relationships and step between you and your fantasies. Let my relationship to you be real to you, and let me bring reality to your perception of your brothers. They were not created to enable you to hurt yourself through them. they were created to create with you. This is the truth that I would interpose between you and your goal of madness. Be not separate from me, and let not the holy purpose of at-one-ment be lost to you in dreams of vengeance. Relationships in which such dreams are cherished have excluded me. Let me enter in the name of God and bring you peace, that you may offer peace to me.
So it's our, am I muted?
Nope, you're good. I can hear you.
So, I mean, this really struck with me, the fact that it's our past thoughts that keep us in the illusion.
Yes.
Is that that's what I'm gathering from this, right?
Yes, it's the
That's what I
past
think.
thoughts of vengeance that keep us in the illusion and keep us from forgiving our brother and releasing ourselves.
I'm glad you accentuated that. Vengeance, yes. Or trying to fix something, anything that is out there in no man's land. And to
Yes,
forgive it, and to forgive all of it.
all of
and
it.
then we can deal with the present. Or in
Right.
the present, it's where forgiveness is.
And the thing is we
Mhm.
don't even have to do it. All we have to do is ask the Holy Spirit to help us.
I
It's
do a
just
lot of that.
Our little willingness, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, from ourselves. I mean, right. Ask for some kind of guidance there. Yes.
This whole chapter is like discussing the battle between right and wrong, love and hate, whatever. It's all, but it's accentuating the duality when what we're really working towards is the oneness, where we're all one. Everything is the same.
Mm.
And this is just, it's like accentuating the good and the bad, the relationships, the fight between the past and the present, and all life is now, and we're all one. And it's almost confusing to me, because that's where my thought process is that we're working towards a oneness that is in the present moment. And I see where, I mean, this is describing the world as we see it, but it's not a we, that's a duality. It's a present moment is just, we're all one.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to focus on, from what I understand.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think the reason the course does that is because it wants to help you be the observer of the thoughts and not get pulled into the thought itself. And as you read the course, or as I have read the course, I find myself underlying things that I used to think were important, and now I don't think are important anymore, because I'm not there anymore. I'm
Exactly.
further along the path of at-one-ment, right? And I think the further you get along that path, the more difficult it is for you to look back and say, wait, what?
Well, that's not right.
That's not right, right? but it's kind of like what I was talking about. Was it last week when I was talking about the dunking pool, or the week before? It's kind of like,
Yeah, you were.
you're on this path, and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? This thing happens, and it pushes you back, and now you start grabbing onto those thoughts of vengeance and how dare that person do that, and because life happens, right? And if you're not in that place of being able to say, your opinion of me is none of my business, or this thing that you've done or tried to do didn't really happen, it was not real, right? If you start to take it personally and make it real for you, then boom, you're right back in it again. You're right back in the dunking pool.
So this is just a reminder. Hey,
It's a reminder. And also it's like imagine like a fishing pole being cast out there. You know, it's like whoever needs to find that hook will grab it, and and that will resonate to them and be like, okay, now I get it. Now I get this. This is where my mind has been. Or you can look back and say, I've been there. I've done that. I was in that position where I took everything personally. And I can imagine, I know of times when I was holding a grievance against a person and wanting vengeance. And I remember a time when all I thought about was, you know, I can't wait until this person gets their just, you know, dues for doing this thing to me. And, you know, and I remember being in that place of anger and grievance and wanting someone to be punished for what they had done.
Or even sadness, or even feeling betrayed, and that kind of stuff. It's just, that's not, it's not real. It's
Right, right, exactly. It's only as real as your opinion about yourself to be unloving or unlovable, right? So when you get to that place where you know yourself as God, and you know yourself as one with the mind of God, no one can hurt you.
And then you move into one of those other states of reality that we were talking about earlier.
Or illusions, right?
Yeah, you dive into the mushrooms.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you know, when I started the course with you and we got their books, it's got to be 12 years ago now, 10, 12 years ago now. And I've been highlighting and underlining for all these times we've gone through, and I almost have a point where I need to get a new book. I'm reading over the top. Well, I'm reading over the top of highlights and underlines.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a thing about underlining books. I'm against it, completely against it, precisely because of that. And if I have to read a book that's underlined, there's no way I could read it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. That's a personal thing, I guess, with me.
I feel the same way about certain books. Like my cookbooks, I never underline. I'll fold corners, but I won't underline.
My first Course in Miracles book was all underlined and highlighted, and I thought, oh, this is such good information. I'm going to go back to this. And then the second time I read it, I'm like, why did I do that? Why was that important to me?
Well, it was important to you then, and it's a different person. Yeah,
Exactly.
Some of the stuff I've underlined and highlighted, I'm like going, that's not that important, but
Right.
it was then.
It was then.
It helped
Something
me.
happened, and I have like people's names written like next to things I've highlighted, like that's how I thought about this person, you know. And I'm like, really? Did I think that way? Gosh.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Most of mine is like this stuff.
Yeah. Right. doodle underline.
When people are talking and I'm thinking, I think better when I'm doodling.
Yeah.
So all this time I'm usually doodling when I'm thinking about what people are saying.
That reminds me of when I was going through one of my divorces. I was at the table with all the attorneys, and my soon-to-be ex was at the table, and oh my gosh, it was like some of the things that were being said, right, were triggering me to feel attacked. And I was trying to find that place of peace. So I just started doodling and drawing hearts all over my paper with my notes, right? Because I had to get my mind straight. So I had all of my notes and all of these hearts, and I think I still have that paper in my files, but it's covered with hearts, and that was my connection to love. I'm like, just be love, be love, be love, be love, be love.
Great.
Two similar types of people, because when I was in the same situation with my ex, it was bubbles. It wasn't. It was like little bubbles all over the place. Because there wasn't any hearts involved.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Like, this is not real. These are just bubbles.
Bubbles. Yeah, it's part of the illusion.
Yeah.
All right, shall we keep going? We got 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. We are on the two pictures. Let's see how long this one is.
Yeah, that's a long one. That's a long one.
Oh, boy. You know what? I think we should wait.
Yeah. I
It's
agree.
a long one and it's a good one. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave this last part open for discussion for the last 10 minutes
Yeah,
because we
one
won't
of
be
the-
able to discuss after that.
Right. One of the things that I do is I have a notebook where I will later, if there's a quote or something in there, I'll write it in there, and I'll write a little note with it. Well, then when I go back to reading it, I look at it and I go, man, you got to take better notes because I don't understand what you wrote on here.
What did you say?
What was I thinking? What was I thinking? And I
Right.
thought, I said, well, I thought you would put in notes there, but that note doesn't make any sense at all. It's like,
That's the whole thing. You grew past it.
Yeah.
That note that you don't realize that note helped you get past a place that like the highlights that I have and everything is like, why did I highlight that? Well, at that time it meant something to me in the situations that I was in then, because I'm in a totally different situation now.
yeah. But there are some things that really, when I reread it, it's like, wow, what the heck? Really, this is deep. It seems deeper than when I first wrote it. I was reading a book called The Way of the Warrior
Oh, yeah.
by Dan Millan, I think it is.
Right.
And the book is just, it's an incredible book. If anybody has not read it, I recommend it. And there's a quote in there that talks about our emotions and how they come and go. And I'm paraphrasing it here. That our emotions are really all the same. It's just that we differentiate it with our thoughts.
Mm.
And that what's important about the emotions is how you react to them, not so much how you feel about it. Your reaction to emotions is what determines your growth in life, something like that. It's just an incredibly beautiful quote.
Yeah.
And I still to this day think about it because I wrote it to somebody. I wrote it to someone and they saved it. And I was having dinner there one day and I looked at it and I read it without realizing that it was something that I had put in there from the book until I, read it further. And I was like, wow, I picked that up. It was like that really, and that has stayed with me. Especially when, like you were saying, before that you get angry or that you feel like somebody has wronged you and you want to take revenge on them. I refer to that quote as to a way to kind of alleviate my anger or my angst or whatever it is that I'm going through. And it just sets me at peace.
Mm-hmm.
But that book has a lot of beautiful stuff like that in it.
Yeah.
Even though it's a book that, I don't know, and it's making me think about everything that we have just read. That it's good to have those things because you can refer to them, and if it works, it works. I mean, some of it has more deeper of a meaning now than before.
Mm-hmm. Something I've been noticing lately on my social media feeds is a quote that says, when you're more interested in observing your thoughts than you are about the thoughts themselves, then you will be at that place of enlightenment, where you're more concerned about the fact that you're observing your thoughts. You're more interested in that than actually what you're even thinking.
Yeah, that's neat. It reminds me of something Ken Wapnick said, that the only real power we have is that of the decision maker. We're deciding for spirit, or we're deciding for this, what I would call this entanglement. Or there was another book, Ernesto, you brought up, the Way of the Warrior, which I know my wife read, and I'm going to find it unless she gave it away. And I'll buy it. But anyway, Rashad Field wrote one called The Last Barrier. And there was a character in there that he really never had a conversation with her, but he was with his master and he was trying to unlearn his ways. And this woman he always saw her with this ball of yarn. And you just imagine this ball of yarn, and she's always like trying to untangle it, but it never, throughout the book, it never untangles. Anyway, it's a good book, really good book. I recommend it. The Last Barrier by Rashad Fields, and it's a Sufi based thing.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Were you going to say something too, Carol?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention how we need do nothing,
Mm, That's
in
true.
paragraph 6 it is. The
mhm.
Holy Spirit wants only to make his resolutions complete and perfect. And so he seeks and finds the source of problems where it is, and there undoes it. So we can get caught up trying to figure things out and unravel circumstances in our lives and get bent out of shape about what we should do and shouldn't do and what he should have done, not done. No, I can go on. And really, if we just step out of the way and put it on the altar, taken care of.
Love
Yeah.
him no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Great point. We need do nothing. We forget that, right? We always think we have to fix and solve.
yeah,
Just let
Or
go.
defend ourselves, it's defend. In that defense, we don't give space for the other person. We're just kind of talking over that other person.
Right.
Tim, what was the name of that book that you
oh
talked?
yeah, the Last Barrier. The Last Barrier by Rashad Fields. It's a very I really liked it. It was just the you'll see. Yeah, I encourage you to
Yeah.
check it out. It's I've mentioned it many times over, 25 years ago, maybe, or more. Anyway, and I think he's got one or two others out.
Well,
But
thank
it's-
you. I was just looking for something to read. You know how sometimes you feel like you need to read something
Yeah.
to
I think you'll
get
be
you going.
happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
you'll see that lady, and she's trying to get to the bottom of it. And Carol, you brought it up very well. Just put your ball of yarn down.
Yeah.
Now I got it.
Just let go.
Yeah.
New
You'll
Brene
never-
Brown book is very good.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
What is it called?
It's called Atlas of the Heart.
Yes, I got
Oh.
that for Christmas from one of my daughters. Yeah.
I just got it just came out on audiobook this last month.
Oh.
It took her a while to get it done, but it's really good. It's
Atlas of the Heart,
mhm.
and it's by who? Do you remember the name?
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown.
All of her books are good.
Huh.
Yeah, she's great.
Thank you.
Yes, all good. All right, guys. Well, this was a wonderful session again. Great to have all of you here. And I will see you guys next week in March.
Yay.
All right. Have a wonderful week. Thank you
Buddy.
for all of the wonderful conversation, discussion. Always
Mm.
helps to kind of bring it into this world of illusion so that we can figure it out and let it go, right? And undo it. All right, guys. Thanks again. And I'll see you in a week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Peace.
Goodbye,
Wonderful day.
everyone.